the defense in steps with kids, and so that's all we're concerned about. So we want to make sure that they're getting aligned properly. We want to make sure that they're communicating properly, and doing those are the things that we're looking at. Those are the things that, and seeing how they're playing downhill to people. Are we covering the right route? Are we doing those things? So we don't really concern ourselves with the scheme that we're seeing. We're more trying to make sure that we can execute the defense we have called.
Being so young, do you have to take a step back compared to last year in the spring? Teach it a little different, or is it the same?
Well, I think we're taking baby steps. It's a little, we really haven't changed our teaching in the way that we teach it, but you maybe have to go a little slower in terms of the kids. You could say something to them, they already know it, and they're ready to move on to the next. Some of these guys are still learning the basics yet, but they're right where they should be at this point in the spring. We'll see how it goes. We just have to keep, the old cliche, you got to keep trying to get better every day, and that's really what we're trying to do.
With replacing all the starters you have from last year, you've had other years in the past you've had to replace a bunch of starters and start over. How does this group kind of compare maybe to other teams where you've had to sort of start over?
Well, I think they're right about where everybody is. You don't know what you don't know, and that's basically where some of the guys are. And but I think that's a good question. But they're all in about the same as the teams before. I mean, they just have to get reps. They got to see it. They got to watch the film. They got to be corrected on their mistakes and move on.
Are you impressed with Francis so far and how he's been able to do it?
Yeah, he's quick. I think it's. I mean, he's an aggressive kid. If I can kill 2 or 3 kids on my individual, he's a thumper. And he's got great explosiveness. He's quick. And, so at times we may have to slow him down a little bit, but he's done some things here in the first 3 days that we thought he was capable of.
What do you hope the Francis and Roberts and the new freshmen, what do you hope they get out of spring ball? And
I hope they understand the defense. I mean, that's all we're trying to do, is to try to get the kids to understand, how to play, how we want them to play. That's it.
A couple years ago, Keith Taney came under a lot of criticism. He's really blossomed into a great corner. How has he been able to teach some of the younger corners, like Pat Williams and the other guys?
Well, I think Keith is one. He's one of our leaders, and maybe our best leader on our defense. And Keith is number one. He's a smart kid. He's a hard-working kid, and he's a really conscientious kid. So, and I think those guys watch him work, and they understand how he got to be a good football player through hard work, and he does a great job helping Pat and Broderick and really Adrian, all these young kids. So he's like having another coach.
Najee Good looks like he's kind of stepping up as a leader as well. If you noticed that at home. Yeah,
Najee's he's a kid again that has experience, and he's got leadership qualities about him, and I think all those kids that have stepped up. Julian Miller, and I think Bruce Irvin is a kid that the kids are drawn to, and Bruce is a guy that's worked real hard, and Julian. So the guys gravitate to the guys that work hard and have success by working hard. And that's so we have 4 or 5 guys probably to draw from the leadership.
How about linebacker in general? You had a lot of turnover there, but you're filling the holes with guys who got quite a bit of playing time. How have they all kind of done so far?
Well, it's awful early, but again, those kids, and we're repping everybody right now. So, and we're trying to get a picture as to who will step up as we get through the spring a little bit more. Then, we'll start maybe seeding it a little differently right now. But right now, we're just trying to get as many guys reps and see who can do what at this point.
Doug Rick hurt?
Doug has a little bit of an issue with a leg that's not anything major, but he's been a little slow here the first couple of days. He'll be okay.
I was going to say, speaking of Irvin, a lot of people really want to know if he's going to be that every down kind of guy.
Who's everybody?
Good question.
Right.
What steps do you see him making, being in every now?
Well, you know what? We only seen 2 practices in shorts, and that's like watching basketball without the basketball. You know, everything goes in, but you know, I think Bruce is going to be just fine. You know, he wants to be an every down player. We want him to be an every down player. He's got a great teacher in Bill Kurlavich, and I think that Bruce Irvin will be fine. I think it's too early to say what Bruce is going to be, but I would be surprised if Bruce isn't ready to go by the time we start playing in September.
Your next practice will be in full pads. Is that the day you look forward to as a coach in spring ball? Like, let's get these pads on. Let's see what these guys can do.
Well, yeah, but you know, you really hope the kids are the ones who really think like that. You know, but I think it'll be a little easier once we get the gear on and to kind of see where guys are at. You know, because you know, you don't want them banging knees and things like that. You still want them to play full speed, and you can see we still have guys that have to learn how to practice in certain gear, and especially some of the young kids that want to try to make an impression and you know, get noticed. Sometimes they get a little overzealous and you know, run into somebody they shouldn't run into. But you know, I think pads are obviously something that to play the game of football you need all the gear on, and that'll be a good day once we do all that.
How much do you have to cross-train some people this spring? I mean, linebackers got to know 2 or 3 spots. D-tackle got to know nose guard. Do you do that, or do you just start moving guys around? How do you handle all that?
Well, you know, at linebacker anyway, I usually try to leave these guys. Nodge can play all that. That's not an issue. But when you have guys like Bronco and Doug Rigg and some of these young kids that, you know, I leave them at one spot, even though I may have an idea that they may not play that as we go. But you know, I'll wait until usually the 3rd or 4th week of spring ball, maybe to move a Sam to Mike or a Mike to Sam, and you know, start moving in, and then we start really getting into that in camp. But we don't really have to know anything right now except who can play. That's what we're trying to look at. And if a guy can play as a Mike, he's probably going to be able to play as a Sam or a Will for us. You know, we just need to find football players right now.
I know it's still early.